believe it or not, the old royal families of Asia decided that communism would be the best way to modernize China.
Okay.
So that behind and above the communist government in China and the mainland, the government in Taiwan, you'll find an old group of families whose connections go way beyond temporary political structures.
Now,
this is
correct me if I'm wrong, but China is named after Emperor Qin, who was of the dragon family, and that was the first dynasty of China, right?
Yeah.
And so these people, he's the one that built the terracotta soldiers, where he took every soldier and every horse in his army and built a stone sculpture out of them. And there's all sorts of interesting facts about how this dragon family showed up, and that they basically kind of erased all the history from China before then, which is now being rebuilt by certain scholars. But that basically these Asian secret societies appear to be dynastic. They've largely been behind the scenes. They've amassed large amounts of wealth, and that's part of what we're into now, right? That's what we're talking about.
You got to remember that there's not a single. There's several different competing groups, but essentially, you have a similar thing both in Asia and in the West. You have secret societies that are connected to ancient dynastic bloodlines. Okay.
Okay.
In the West, that would be the Rothschilds and the British royal families and the Freemasons and the P2 Lodge, okay? In Asia, it would be the dragon families, I would guess. And this would be all the various dynastic families and clan groupings based on, family ties. But in the West, you had a different group that and it's confusing because there's several groups that call themselves Illuminati, but there's a group that has contacted me, and they've proven to me they're connected to various agencies as well as international drug smuggling rings, okay?
Okay.
But they claim they started the French, American, and Russian revolutions, and that they are opposed to bloodline rule. And in the same way, the Asians have a secret society that's also based on meritocracy, and they're also opposed to bloodline rule. And this would be a group that, the Chinese triads and the Japanese Yakuza groups and these various other secret groups in Asia have strict rules against nepotism. So the son of a gang boss could never take over his father's gang. And these are linked to martial arts societies and also chambers of commerce. There's no clear line between like an official chamber of commerce and outlaw gangsters being chased by the police. It's a gray zone, with light gray and dark gray.
Okay. So
what I'm saying is that you have both in the West and in the East, you have meritocratic secret societies and bloodline secret societies.
Right.
Okay?
And could you just briefly enunciate for us, a lot of people have PTSD around hearing about things like Illuminati, and as soon as you say stuff like that, the paranoia kicks in, the fear and the anxiety kicks in. So when you say that these are dynastic bloodline families in Asia, that these are secret societies, are they sacrificing babies? Are they drinking people's blood? Are they doing satanic rituals? What are we talking about here in terms of who are these people? What do they think? What's their philosophy? What do they want? Do they want to take over the planet? Are they fighting against the Illuminati to control the planet? What's their agenda?
Well, they think that the center or the control of the future of the planet should no longer be controlled by a small Western elite, and they would rather have it fall under the control of the people of the planet. Now, there is a group, of course, of chauvinistic people who say China should rule the world in China, but the general consensus in Asia as a whole is that it should be equal for all the people of the planet, and not just either a Chinese or a Khazarian-controlled, family business that runs the planet.
Sure. So when you're talking about...
what they say publicly, I think, is really what they expect for now, which is a multipolar world, not one controlled by a single group.
Okay, another question which I think might help to allay the skeptics, because there's a lot of them, and they're very nasty, is could there be the possibility of a single-point failure in what you're telling us? In other words, is it possible that all of the stuff that you just told me about these Chinese secret societies is the result of you meeting one or two guys and them telling you these elaborate stories, and you call the guy on the phone every other day and he gives you new information, but that's it?
Listen, I was a journalist. I've been a journalist here for more than 25 years. I've met most of the post-war prime ministers in Japan. I've met finance ministers, the heads of most of the large corporations in Asia. Remember, I was the Asia Pacific bureau chief for the world's largest business magazine.
Well, what does that really mean? I mean, how do you get to meet a prime minister? Why would they talk to you?
I would go to Taiwan, I'd go to China, I'd go to Russia, I'd go to Vietnam, I'd go to Australia, and I'd meet the heads of large corporations who want to publicize their companies. Well, what I'm trying to say is that...
Were you selling advertisements?
Hundreds of people, but also just more recently, since quitting that job, I've literally, my sources run into the hundreds, and I know the bosses of the triads, the Yakuza gangs. I know the heads of the Japanese military intelligence and the police forces here. I know the heads of the martial arts societies. I've talked to the Politburo members in China. So no, it's not me talking to one handler or two handlers feeding me disinformation. However, it's true that they've thrown all sorts of disinformation my way to try to, ruin my credibility. But at the end of the day, and this is what people need to realize, is that I don't really need to prove this to the public at large, because we're trying to convince right now the heads of the Pentagon, the CIA, the NSA, the KGB, the Freemasons. In other words, we're trying to convince the people who control the military-industrial complex and the politicians that this is a better plan than what's in place now. And I'm sorry, but a lot of people out there have been so brainwashed by television that all you have to do is change what's on the TV to change their minds,
Sure.
But I have provided tape recordings and photographs and videos and various proof to assorted police and investigative agencies. So, I don't really need to prove myself at this point, although if there's a legitimate criticism, I'm happy to answer it.
Oh, I understand that. One question that I'd like to edify here. When we see videos of you in Japan, there's been, on at least 3 videos I'm aware of, you're appearing with a man who seems to he's carrying a walking stick and he has kind of a raspy voice. So who is this guy, and what's his connection? Because most people don't speak Japanese. They have no idea what's going on.
His name is Chodoin Daikaku, okay?
Okay.
And he controls the world's martial arts societies. So he's the head of the karate associations, the aikido associations. Now, there's a couple like the judo and the Chinese martial arts that they don't he's not the head of them, but he knows the guys who run them. So he's a bigwig. He's not just some flake.